Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to Mercedes A45 AMG S. Now, thanks to the guys at Quintessential Cars, I'm down visiting their dealership and testing out this ridiculous car to bring to you just first impressions and an overview of this hyper hatch. So, without further ado, I'm going to rewind time, I'll show you some detailed shots, go over the car, and then I'll jump back in here, take it for a proper drive and see what it's like out on these proper country roads. Back at Quintessential Cars HQ, and I thought I'd run you around this car from a styling perspective before we start talking about the dynamic driving aspects. They've laid out a bit of the stock as well, just some of it, to give you an idea of what's on offer. Obviously, if you want to see more of that, we'll look at it in a second, but the links are in the description for the website and Instagram if interested. Now, this car, even from a standstill, you can tell that this thing is fast. And first of all, black on black on black is the spec to go for me. You've got these awesome canards at the front, those beautiful AMG wheels, hello mate, and then on the side some badging to let you know you're in something a bit more than just an A-Class. I think they've done a great job of separating the cars, because in the past you could get A-Classes, A45s even, that looked like the base model. This one, there's no comparison. Look at those alloys, look at those massive brakes to stop the ridiculous power hiding under there, and then at the back, as part of this package, you've got that huge rear wing and 4 exhausts separated from the A35 model. You've got A45S emblazoned on the side. It's just so nice from the outside, but it doesn't stop there. This for me is where Mercedes have completely excelled in what they've offered anyone who buys this car. Just look at it. You've got to remind yourself this is in a hot hatch. Obviously the term hot is kind of being used loosely now because this one almost has supercar levels of power, but just the good quality metals on Alcantara, on leather, all finished in the same way you'd expect from any of the high-end AMG models. Yeah, it's a great place to be, and it should be, because that is where you'll spend most of your time, because you'll want to be out on the roads in this thing. Speaking of that, we'll do that in a second, but I want to get distracted on these for a second. So just some of the stock these guys have, starting with an Abarth, obviously close to my heart. This SASA has apparently been sold, looking really nice here in red. Then next to that, we've got this comparison between generations, which is very cool to see. Obviously, it's not going to be for everyone, the styling changes that BMW have made, but let me know in the comments what you personally think. I've heard it's a good car to drive, so maybe you can forgive the questionable front end there. Then we've got this Audi RS3, direct comparable to A45, even though they've just released the new one. It's still cool to see it sat here looking very good in this blue, really pops in the light as well. And then you got this Aston Martin, white on carbon everywhere. You can't go wrong with an Aston V8 Vantage, they all look really good. But anyway, we could look over all of this for days, but the priority in this video is this car. So we'll hop back in and we'll go for a proper drive and see what it's like. Is it right now?
Yeah, best roads are up there.
Perfect. It feels so effortless. So effortless. Just jumping in, I've just adjusted a few things to what I want and then it's gone. And you don't feel daunted by it, you just want to get in and thrash it. So that's what we'll do. Doesn't sound too bad. And I know it's all gimmicky having all these digital dashboards, even the buttons offering digital displays, you can change through the modes that way, but there's something cool about it as well. I'm seeing it in my peripheral vision, the whole thing's just lit up. It looks expensive, and well, it is expensive, and obviously in the UK you can only get the A45S, but I don't think you'd be complaining about only being able to have the better car. Looking over it as you do when preparing for something like this, I was watching videos and the performance stats are ridiculous. This thing is pumping out over 400 brake horsepower, 400 in a hot hatch. I mean, that's the new normal, but for me that is crazy to even think about. Back in the day there used to be cars that you'd idolise, supercars that would be sporting that. You think, wow, that is impressive, and now it's just in your day-to-day that you can use here, there, wherever. And they've made that power really accessible as well. Obviously, four-wheel drive system in this thing, very clever system as well. 0 to 60 I believe is 3.9 seconds. Obviously four-wheel drive helping it, but the four-wheel drive not only is functional, it's actually been adjusted with the rear diffs to make it a fun experience as well. You can switch it through the modes, but if you play around with the stability control, you can actually enter into a drift mode, and obviously won't be any experiencing that, but it's just cool to know that they can kind of adjust the way the power is distributed to the rear wheels, because I believe you can get all of it even to one side of the car helping turn in, but obviously if you want to unsettle it a little bit, then helps with having a bit of fun as well. And you can have a lot of fun with this thing. It's rapid. Big on the fact that a car should sound very good, because otherwise the character is kind of lost. But for me, I think they've done a good job here of balancing the character but also sticking to all these filters and tests that they have to do to make sure it's feasible to put onto the market. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Ruined my car for me though. It actually has.
Yeah, you wouldn't think they could get so much power out of a 2 litre.
2 litre 4-cylinder.
And the way it delivers as well is...
it's ridiculous. I'm surprised it hasn't tempted you over to the Mercedes side.
Well, I do like Mercs, but for driving up here in the winter, you can't beat a Range Rover.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I had an RS3 saloon for a bit.
How's that compared to this?
That was more tame than this.
I've heard that in a lot of feedback online as well, that this thing it can't really be dialed back in the same way that the RS3 can.
No, exactly. Like an RS3 you can just, I mean, it can be an Audi A3 if you want it to be.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
The drive select modes actually make more of a difference.
Yeah, yeah. But not as much of a difference when you go up into dynamic as this does going into race.
Okay.
So
this thing starts crazy and just gets crazy.
Exactly.
But the other one's a bit tame. You can make it a bit crazy.
A bit crazy, yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah, because I've driven an RS3 a while ago, but this is still quicker, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's still the quickest.
It's the fastest 2 litre production car at the minute.
Ridiculous stats. Which way is best to...
I'm just thinking we might actually need to put some fuel in it now. Trying to think where, I think where the nearest fuel station is from here.
So we've been having fun on these roads, and obviously comes to a consequence. There wasn't much fuel in the car to start with, but we're going to have to go put some in. So while we're cruising there, I thought I'd quickly calm myself down and just touch on some points that you could argue are negatives, but it's just nitpicking, because for me, I'm quite obsessed with this thing already. One thing, when I was looking around the car styling wise, I'm not a massive fan of fake parts being put on cars, and if you look closely at the 4 exhausts, they're not 4 exhausts, it's just fake. And also, yes, in some ways this sound isn't as good as the previous generation, but that's no fault of this car's own. Every single car is going through the same thing. It's just the pain of this industry. But you can do a little something aftermarket if you really want to change things up. But in terms of how it sounds, I'm pleasantly surprised. I know I've banged on about it enough in this video. It does sound good, for a 4-cylinder as well, and the way you get those upshift cracks, they've kept the character of the previous gen and just tweaked it for what the modern regulations require, which you can't blame them for. Everything will have the same problem, but it still has character. Final thing for me is the price. Now, again, you can justify it in some ways, because this thing starting from 50 going upwards of that, you might think, oh, it's impossible to justify, it's hard to get into, but really, when you're behind the wheel, you're not thinking that, because you're not thinking this is just a normal hot hatch. It's honestly redefining what you would think is possible in a car of this size. And of course the price is then justified, because 50, 60 odd grand to go warp speed in a car with this level of quality finished throughout, you get what you pay for. If you want something a bit cheaper, you'll get something a bit slower. So again, it's justified. It's ridiculous to think that that's the price point hot hatches have kind of gone to, but it is what it is. So I think that's as good a place as any to wrap things up. Again, huge thanks to Quintessential Cars for having me down, and if you want to take a look at this car, if it's still around, or any of their other stock, links are in the description. But yeah, thanks for watching, leave a like, comment below, and I'll see you in future videos for more content like this.